After drifting away for half my life, I returned to the village. Just to ask if the promise she made to me back then still counted. I asked. Weren't we supposed to agree that if we were both still single this year, we'd take each other home for the new year? She lowered her head, too shy to look at me. She said, I brought my boyfriend home. I felt a sharp pain in my chest, right there. I called my female boss Anna. I asked, could you pretend to be my girlfriend and come spend the new year with my family? Anna replied, all right, fine. I'll be passing by anyway. She said it was on her way. But she took a flight overnight, switched to a high-speed train, took a rural bus, then a donkey cart, and finally reached the town. She said, grand, I've arrived. I quietly replied, wait, I'll have Auntie take a tricycle to pick you up in the town. Also, in the village, call me by my real name, George Wong. Anna found this absurd. What a crude name. Chapter 1. The day after her holiday back to the village. Heavy snow had fallen. I was standing outside feeding the chickens. But I spilled the rice, and it rolled down the slope. The chickens rushed down after it. And I slid down after them. My grandma was watching from behind. She shouted, safe travels. See you next year. I replied, I'm just chasing the chickens. Grandma answered, the chickens already turned back. So why are you still sliding forward? I said, I can't stop. I slid all the way to her house. The door was open, and Willow stood there, staring at me in disbelief. We hadn't seen each other in 5 years, and she had long shed the youthful innocence of the past. Her face was still striking, but now bore the marks of time. She wore a khaki trench coat, though the brand wasn't clear. It made her look elegant and graceful. The village girl who once didn't know how to dress or wear makeup now looked like a magazine model. Willow snapped out of her daze. She asked, what are you doing here? I replied, chasing chickens. Just happened to pass by. She asked, and the chickens? I turned around. There wasn't a single chicken in sight. I sighed. Maybe they went home first. The world seemed to mute in that moment. In those nights when I had diarrhea from eating Wallace burgers, I had rehearsed countless scenarios of reuniting with Willow. But now that we were face to face, every word felt like it burned my mouth. I pinched the bridge of my nose and said, by the way, I just remembered something I wasn't planning to ask. It just popped into my head. She nodded. Go ahead. Ask. I said. Didn't you promise me that if we were both still single at 28, we'd take each other home for the new year? Willow froze for a moment, pressed her lips together and said, that was an agreement from years ago. You still remember? I whispered. Yeah, I thought you'd remember too. I had already predicted this outcome, yet I still couldn't help asking. The atmosphere fell silent again for a few seconds. Willow reluctantly spoke. George, this time, I'm bringing my boyfriend back. The weather was freezing. I had a cotton jacket inside my down coat. Long johns tucked into my leggings. Woolen pants were wrapped tightly. But still, something deep in my chest felt like it had cracked from the cold. Before the awkwardness could get any worse, I quickly said, I should get going. The chickens might be looking for me. Just as I was about to turn around, a man came out of Willow's house. He was short, about 158-inch, and naturally, he put his arm around Willow's waist. He said, hey, we have a guest. Willow, is this Mr. Wong, the one from next door who's great at stewing chicken? The air grew thick again. If I had known, I wouldn't have come looking like I just crawled out of a chicken coop. I had just wanted to keep it casual. To make it look like a coincidence with a messy hairstyle, protecting whatever little dignity I had left. But I didn't expect this kind of scene. All my last shred of dignity was swept away. Willow said, this is my childhood friend, George. Then she introduced him. This is my boyfriend, Makoto. Makoto had a luxury watch on his wrist, a high-end suit, and clearly no cotton jacket underneath. Just a light shirt and a fancy tie. If he hadn't been shivering, he would have looked decent. Even his name felt like a downgrade for me. How fancy it sounded compared to my simple, straightforward name, meant to bear my father's hopes. I suddenly felt drained of all my strength, so I politely said, I'm a bit tired. I should go find my chickens. Makoto stepped forward, stood on his toes, and pressed down on my shoulder. You're George. Willow's mentioned you. You two went to school together from primary to university. Such a coincidence. Willow even has your photos on her computer. I didn't expect you to look like this in person. I thought you were the old Wong from next door. What a funny misunderstanding. I was speechless. I lowered my head and said, yeah, what a coincidence. This guy looked refined, his stature like a child, yet his words hit like a dagger. I hadn't washed my hair, and suddenly I was Mr. Wong from next door. Poor old Wong from next door. Willow softly explained. It's from an old computer. I forgot to clean it up. Makoto asked. George, do you have a girlfriend? I looked up, just as Willow's gaze met mine, perhaps afraid that the embers of my unspoken feelings would be exposed. I instinctively tried to cover it up. Yeah, I have a girlfriend. Willow's expression immediately darkened. Makoto laughed. Haha, That's great. Otherwise, I would have thought you two were childhood sweethearts, and that would have been awkward. In that moment, I felt a heavy weight in my chest. I tried to leave, but he asked again. George, why didn't you bring your girlfriend home for the new year? His face was smiling, but I felt no warmth in his eyes. Like he was forcing me to give a clear answer. I rubbed my temple, enduring the discomfort. My girlfriend will be here in a couple of days. Then I added, Willow, since you have a boyfriend now, it's better to let everyone know in advance. Things that could be made clear beforehand don't need to turn into a mess. Chapter 2. That night, I didn't eat Wallace burgers, but still ended up with diarrhea. Willow's meaningful gaze and Makoto's hostile expression kept flashing before my eyes. I stood up and took a deep breath. This girlfriend situation was no longer avoidable. I scrolled through my contacts and stopped when I saw Anna's name. Anna was my female boss, a rich heiress, the female CEO of Sue Group. At the annual meeting, I won the grand prize in the raffle. The prize was dinner with the female boss. I calmly ripped up the winning ticket and decided to pretend I hadn't drawn that cursed prize. When it was time to announce the winners, however, Anna said, the grand prize was just a joke from the assistant. The real reward is that you can ask the boss to do something for you. So, who got the grand prize? The room went silent for 2 minutes. When I pieced together the 8 torn fragments of the ticket in front of Anna, even the most emotionally intelligent colleague couldn't muster a single word. Anna's face changed like a revolving lantern. After a long pause, she coldly said, decide what you want, then come to me for your prize. I forced myself to call Anna. She answered coldly. What is it? I laughed awkwardly, trying to please her. I want to claim my prize. It's okay to ask for anything, right? She scoffed and said. Tell me first, I said. Could you pretend to be my girlfriend and come spend the new year with my family? She asked. What? Anna's voice instantly shot up several octaves. My heart sank to the bottom. Asking my female boss to pretend to be my girlfriend was already absurd. What's worse, my hometown was in a remote, secluded village. A privileged young lady like Anna, born with a silver spoon in her mouth, would likely never set foot in such a place. It sounded ridiculous, I admit. I took a deep breath and gathered my courage. It's fine if you can't. I don't want to put you in a difficult position. Did you think I would say that? No, I won't. Lady Sue, you promised this prize yourself. If you don't fulfill it today, I'll hang myself at the company entrance and ruin Sue Group's reputation. Desperate, I had no choice but to go all in. Although I felt pathetic, there was silence on the other end of the line. I could almost hear her moving the phone away, and the sound of her sobbing. After a moment, she picked up the phone again. Her tone seemed to hold back both frustration and some hidden pleasure. Suppressing her emotions, she said, tell me your address. I thought to myself, the most afraid of barefooted people are those who wear shoes. I sent her a location pin. I said, this place is a bit tricky to get to. I'll send you the detailed travel instructions. Anna replied, okay. I was actually planning to go near there anyway. It's on my way. I fell into deep thought. On the way. This place is so remote even Google Maps can't find it. Chapter 3. Perhaps she was so afraid that I'd hang myself at the company entrance. Anna couldn't even sleep that night. She set off overnight. Following my travel guide, she took a night flight, changed to a high-speed train, then switched to a rural bus, and finally took a donkey cart. The next afternoon, I received a call from her. She said, Mr. Grand, I've arrived in the town. I was speechless. I whispered, wait a minute. I'll have my aunt pedal a tricycle to pick you up in the town, and in the village. Call me by my real name, George Wong. After my aunt set off on the tricycle, I stood by the village entrance waiting. It wasn't that my aunt refused to deliver door to door. She was well known for her good reputation for transporting people. Everyone could trust her, but I wanted to let the village information bureau know about this. I wasn't wrong. The news spread fast, from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. Soon, the whole village knew I was standing by the entrance to pick up my girlfriend. About 10 minutes later, Willow came out carrying a bottle. She said she was going to buy some vinegar. I stood at the village entrance for an hour. Willow had made 2 trips for soy sauce and 3 for vinegar. Finally, the tricycle arrived, albeit fashionably late. It was filled with luggage of all sizes and little gifts, leaving no space to even step down. Anna practically rode back on top of my aunt. Anyone who didn't know would think she was moving in. She was still covered in logos and flashy luxury brands. But after this long and dusty journey, even the most luxurious items were coated in a layer of dust, making them look like cheap knockoffs. The authentic heiress of a city's rich families. Most were elegant, low-key, and dignified, but Anna was the only one with such an extravagant style. But because the Sue family was so rich, no one ever questioned her bad girl fashion. When Anna stepped off the tricycle, she was so exhausted her lips had turned pale. She smiled at me with a smile that said she was beautiful but had a rough life. A crowd of villagers gathered around to watch the spectacle. When they saw Anna, everyone was stunned. Someone said, Wait, is it true that people actually look like this in real life? A few of my buddies quickly stood behind me, keeping a safe distance from Anna. They loudly discussed. I've been reading too many feel-good novels lately. I swear George's girlfriend looks like someone who's about to have a breakdown. Another person added. Yeah, she's the type who would chase after a first love that went abroad. Someone else said. Her dad would probably give George $5 million to get him to leave his daughter. Meanwhile, Makoto, who was watching the scene, burst out laughing. He said, George, you're really something. Renting a girlfriend just to save face is one thing, but you rented one who loves to act. Isn't that a bit too much? I said sincerely. She's not acting. Everyone has their own style. If you don't understand, please show some respect. Makoto replied. I heard everything you said to Willow yesterday. If you really had a rich, beautiful girlfriend, would you still be thinking about Willow? He pointed to all the luggage and said, all of this is rented, right? You're going to return it later, aren't you? Isn't that a hassle? As he spoke, Anna had already started handing out souvenirs to the villagers. Everyone got a gift. Makoto even received one. Makoto stared. Really giving? It's not some fancy packaged pickled mustard, is it? He ripped open the packaging with a look of disdain. Inside was a box of imported chocolate worth over 500 yuan. Makoto's expression changed. He said, wow, quite the spender. Looks like you really fooled her. I was already wearing my painful expression. I couldn't bear to think about how this money would be deducted from my paycheck later. With great difficulty, I bent down and snatched the chocolate from Makoto's hands. Makoto gave me a contemptuous smile. He stood on his tiptoes and whispered in my ear. At least you're smart today. Do you know what the most terrifying first love is? It's the kind that dies. Once it's dead, it will live on forever in your memories. But if it's alive and right in front of me, I have 100 ways to ruin it. I didn't want to argue with him, but after thinking for a moment, I still said, if it's going to rot, it won't be my problem. And can you be a bit more normal? Have you been watching too many cheating stories? I really have no interest in fighting for a woman with you. Is that childish or what? Makoto froze. Chapter 4. When we got home, my grandmother was sitting in the yard, peeling peanuts with her back to the door. Anna opened her mouth right away. She said, peanuts, peeling aunties at home. I looked at her, feeling drained. I said, calm down. Did you mix up your words? Anna fell silent. In that tense moment, my grandmother heard the noise. Without turning around, she slowly asked, who is it? Anna quickly straightened up. She said, Beijing University student, Stanford University master's degree, CEO of a group, national senior baker, ambassador for the children's charity, winner of the flower hand goddess competition, TikTok artist, Anna. My grandmother replied, ah, what? So many people, the house might not fit. The free-range chickens all around the yard clucked. It felt like they were laughing at me, wondering where I had found this little bad girl. Anna turned to me and whispered, if there's really no space at home, I can sit with the chickens. I rubbed my temples and said, can you stop talking for a moment? My head hurts a bit, Anna said. My head actually hurts a little too. Maybe it's from the bumps on the road, I replied. I can tell. Anna was surprisingly easy to take care of. She crawled into the big floral quilt my grandmother had prepared for her and fell asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow. She didn't mind the bed or the poor conditions. No princess syndrome at all. In the morning, she complimented how stable the mood of my family's chickens was, saying they never crowed at night. She praised my grandmother's burnt bean soup for having a deep roasted coffee aroma that was intoxicating. I told her that no matter how successful someone was outside, they still had to help their grandmother with the chores when they came home. I told her that with her long legs, she was perfect for carrying the manure, and the heavy labor of plowing should be left to me. So, she seriously started learning the plowing tutorial. She said, every time you plow, you smash the big clods of earth, pick up the grass roots, and push them flat with the back of the hoe. First, the front of the hoe, then the back, plowing one row after another. She was so happy, so proud as she took the hoe and was ready to go. I said speechlessly, what you just recited was the plowing tutorial, but you're holding a hoe. Anna said, oh, put down the hoe, and sincerely complimented me. George, you're amazing. You can even tell the difference. I shrugged. What's so amazing about that? She's rich enough not to tell the difference between a hoe and a rake. I'm poor enough to not know what to do. I turned my face, only to see Willow quietly standing outside the door. The world was silent. The last rays of the setting sun stretched her shadow long. She looked at me, her voice filled with grievance as she said, George, can we talk? Chapter 5. I often think back to the times I spent with Willow. The backdrop of those memories is always a sunny, vibrant summer. The trees on campus grew lush and green. Sunlight filtered through the branches, casting beams onto Willow's white dress. Back then, Willow was like the clear, sparkling dew of early spring. The moment she saw me, she would happily rush into my arms and act coquettishly. She would say, George, I want to go eat pig's trotters today, and I would always feel guilty. Her academic performance could have easily gotten her into a top-tier university, but she stubbornly applied to the same average one as me. She said that even an ordinary university had its perks. Here, she could win the favor of the teachers. I knew she said that to ease my guilt. Since childhood, I had always been a loner. I wasn't eager to socialize and wasn't used to fighting for anything. Willow, on the other hand, was completely different. Her mind was always filled with strange and fascinating ideas. She had a unique ability to spot my strengths from odd angles and would encourage me with admiration. Under her influence, I gradually shed my inferiority complex and slowly developed a sense of awareness about life. I started striving to improve in both my studies and life. We spent 4 years together, ordinary yet intense, accompanying each other through our youth. Then came the time to look for jobs, and our happy days abruptly ended. That's when we realized the downside of attending an average university. Our school and major couldn't stand their ground in first-tier cities. During that time, our thoughts diverged, and our relationship quickly cooled. After much contemplation, I chose to continue studying for a master's degree, determined to stay in a city. She chose to return home and prepare for the civil service exams. On the day we parted ways, we made a pact. If we're both still single in 5 years, we'll bring each other home for the new year. An unspoken relationship, an indifferent conclusion. The wheels of fate began to turn, and they turned for 5 years. Willow pursed her lips and said, I actually understood what you said yesterday. You know, when I found out that you've always had me in your heart, I was actually really happy. Willow looked at me, her eyes glistening with tears. I forced a smile and said, if I had known you had already let go, I wouldn't have asked. Every year during the new year and on birthdays, you send me a bunch of vague messages, and you never mention anything important. If you had just said you had a boyfriend, I would have let go long ago. Chapter 6. We sat side by side on the stone bench under the old tree. When we were kids, we often sat here. We would soak the sheets we changed in hot water and detergent. Then, we'd beat them with a wooden mallet, one strike after another. Afterward, we'd take them to the river to rinse them clean. Willow said, in the years we didn't see each other, I thought I had let go. But whenever you appear, everyone else just fades into the background. She spoke with such emotion, but I couldn't focus on her words. My attention was drawn to the yard. My grandmother was chasing the chickens back into the chicken coop. Anna, in her expensive high heels, was following behind, diligently shoveling chicken droppings. Her beautiful figure stood out, even in this out-of-place scene. As she outlined the curve of her hips, the picture strangely felt harmonious. Willow followed my gaze toward the yard and laughed softly. She teased, the young lady is quite elegant even when shoveling chicken poop. I chuckled and smiled in relief. I said, all these things that made me feel inferior for so many years. Things I was too embarrassed to let others know. She doesn't mind them at all. That's pretty moving to me. I paused and then continued. Willow, do you know, in the past, I had no direction in life. All I wanted was to make more money, escape the countryside, and move to a big city for a brighter future. Poverty and inferiority were like a thorn in my soul, something I couldn't get rid of no matter what. Willow turned to look at me and said, I know. I shook my head. You know, but not really. My dad died young from alcohol. My mom's buried in debt from gambling. My teachers looked down on me while praising others, and my grandfather is bedridden. Even though we both came from rural backgrounds, I'm an only child, and the burden of the family fell entirely on me. I couldn't solve it, so I just wanted to escape. It's hard for you to truly understand the thorn that's embedded in my soul. Willow pressed her lips together in silence. I turned to face her and smiled. I said, but now I've figured it out. Problems always have to be faced and solved. Once you take action, you realize that the difficulties that once troubled you may not be as hard as you thought. The worst outcome is still bearable. So, I've said goodbye to the anxious, self-consuming version of myself. I want to live my life fully again. Willow looked at Anna, who was busy in the yard. She gave a bitter smile. She said, I thought you brought her back just to make me jealous. After Willow left, I returned home. Anna looked at me and rolled her eyes, starting to mock me. She snorted and said, how's the replacement girlfriend working for you? Did it help you rekindle things with her? I laughed and said, come on, you're still 2 steps from the door. Eavesdropping. Don't think I didn't notice. She pouted and said, looks like I've been caught. But it was too far to hear clearly. She sat on a small stool, resting her chin in her hands. I asked curiously, what are you doing here? She replied, meditating. I asked, what did you figure out? Anna glanced at me, proudly saying, fresh chicken droppings are hard to shovel. If you freeze them overnight, they become hard, and you can shovel them quickly and cleanly. Not everything is best started as early as possible. Meeting at the right time is more important. Just like your past with her. I was speechless. She understands metaphors. Chapter 7. On the day we slaughtered the New Year's pig, my grandmother invited relatives and friends over. On the surface, it was a meal to celebrate the pig slaughter. In reality, it was to show off the daughter-in-law. I had reminded Anna beforehand, when you're talking to them, just go along with it. If they're too pleased with you, There will be a lot of awkwardness when we go our separate ways later. Anna shot me an angry glare, then turned her back on me and ignored me. Early in the morning, relatives and friends started arriving. Willow was also there. She said she missed the pig dishes my grandmother made. The two of them exchanged eye rolls, neither of them willing to back down. When we went to catch the pig, they both fought to be the first to get into the kitchen to boil water, start the fire, and prepare the food. Anna spoke up first. "Let me do it," Willow sneered. "Aren't you the wealthy daughter? Can you handle this kind of hardship?" Anna thought for a moment and sincerely replied, "It's not that I can't handle hardship. Last winter, my car was parked outside, and I forgot to close the convertible top. It froze overnight. The next morning, I had to drive to work with the top still open in the cold. I felt like my head was going numb that day." Willow clicked her tongue and said, "Then what about the car? Didn't you drive it here? Don't like it? Prefer riding in a tricycle?" The two of them exchanged another eye roll. In the end, one of them burned the pot, and the other almost set the firewood pile alight. I hurriedly put down what I was doing and helped them both out. I had them sit together, both looking disgruntled. I sighed. "You two stay aside, I'll do it." With that, I picked up the kitchen knife and chopped down so hard that I split the cutting board in half. My grandmother said, "You stay aside too." I quickly responded, "Okay." The three of us sat together, watching the elderly folks in the yard methodically slaughter the pig and prepare the food. It was quite comforting. I asked Willow, "What about Makoto? If you're here, what's he doing?" Willow pouted. "I broke up with him and sent him home." I asked, "What was his reaction?" She rested her chin on her hand and sighed. "He yelled like a pig being slaughtered, even tried to hit me, but my dad pinned him to the ground. You know, despite his small size, it was hard to hold him down. But even the hardest pig can't escape the butcher's knife." The screams gradually quieted. A bucket of boiling water was poured on the pig, and the hair quickly fell off with the scraping knife. We, the young people who were all talk but never quite good at anything, lost our face and dignity. Even so, Willow still tucked her hair behind her ear, stood up proudly, and declared loudly, "George, I won't let you give up on me for that scheming girl. I may not be good at boiling water or cooking, but I'm really good at warming the bed." I was speechless. "Keep your voice down. This is really embarrassing." Willow pouted. "The third party is out of the picture without me. How would you advance the plot with the second female lead?" I was stunned. This world really felt like one giant NPC puzzle. Chapter 8. After the pig slaughter meal, Anna packed up her things and said goodbye. She proudly said to me, "Grand. Thank you so much. These few days in the village have really taught me a lot about life. I grew up being pampered by my parents, and even though I've been to many places and thought my horizons were broad, it wasn't until I came here that I realized I was the one living in an information cocoon." She turned around and said, "See, I told you. You wouldn't believe me. I came here to learn. So it's true. I was just passing through. All right. Now that I've played the role of your girlfriend, I should be on my way." Too much exuberance in life can sometimes reveal the darkness in people's hearts. At that moment, I suddenly realized that I was just an NPC in Anna's world. This little episode was only to advance the main storyline of her life. Seeing me fall silent, Anna leaned over and poked my arm. She said, "If you don't like something, you have to speak up about it. Otherwise, people will think you don't mind. If you want something, you need to fight for it. Otherwise, why should good things come your way?" Finally, she gave me a bright smile and said, "Grand. Good luck." She seemed to have no idea how I was feeling. My brow furrowed. After Anna left, the task of shoveling chicken poop fell back on me. Life went on, noisy yet peaceful, with the clamor of chickens, geese, cows, and sheep in the background. Occasionally, I would receive voice messages from Anna. She'd ask, "How's Grandma? How are the chickens? Are they okay with the rice I didn't feed them myself? Mrs. Sand's geese next door are too unruly. Can Grandma raise a gentler, domestic goose next year? I want to continue the challenge of taming geese." She'd ask about everyone in the family, but never about me. Despite that, I felt a sense of calm and fullness inside. In the past, I was too shy to openly pursue a girl, because when I made phone calls, the chickens would crow. I had to wake up at 5 every morning to feed the chickens, but I wouldn't dare send a good morning text until 8. Now, I can talk openly to Anna about the chickens at home. When the cows happen to moo while we're on the phone, I can calmly wait for it to pass. The cracks that were once caused by long-term inferiority seem to be slowly healing. At the end of the call, I joked, "Anna, you asked about all the animals at home, but why didn't you ask how I'm doing?" There was a brief silence on the other end. Then Anna said, "I think, you must be doing well at this moment." All right. Chapter 9. 3 days after Anna left. I never expected the malicious male antagonist to make a return. That day, I was busy trying to savor the crispy, charred aroma of the mixed bean rice. My phone buzzed with a message notification. I opened it to find a message from my good buddy. He said, "George, Willow's boyfriend, Makoto, uploaded a video of your precious young lady online." I clicked on the video link. In the video, Anna was riding a tricycle back to the village. She looked disheveled, her luxurious clothes wrinkled like a poor imitation. At the end of the video, there was Anna bending down to shovel chicken poop. And Anna sitting with chickens at the doorstep, eating mixed bean rice. She looked simple and down to earth. Makoto's caption was as harsh as ever. He wrote, "How pretentious can a vain woman be when she returns to the village for the new year? Have you ever seen such a unique young lady?" Perhaps because this kind of content resonated with people returning to their hometowns for the holiday, it quickly gained popularity. By the time I saw it, the video had only been up for 2 hours, but likes, shares, and comments had already surpassed 10,000, and it was still rapidly growing. The words, "rural heiress," quickly shot to the trending topic list. The comments were filled with reckless ridicule and mockery. Netizens wrote, "Ha, which family's young lady is this? She's so silly. Didn't anyone tell her that a real heiress wouldn't dress like a butterfly or wear makeup like a social media influencer? Sitting in a pile of chickens, and it's actually a good look." There were also a bunch of people complimenting her outfit, claiming it was a great imitation and asking where they could buy it. After the video blew up, Makoto capitalized on the momentum. He immediately started a live stream. The video was repeatedly played in the live stream. The chat in the live stream was moving at lightning speed. Netizens commented, "It's been 2 hours. Still no information on this heiress. I have to say, she actually looks kind of attractive. Can I get a monthly subscription for 3,000? Some people commented, Actually, she kind of looks like a real heiress I know, but I never heard she had a rural hometown. Upstairs, I know that heiress too. I don't get it. I need to look into this more." Watching the video of Anna looking so docile, and reading those sharp, mocking comments, I felt my blood boiling, shaking with anger. I changed my username to my real name. Then, I requested to join the live stream. When Makoto saw my name, he happily accepted the request. His arrogant demeanor made a smirk curve at the corners of his lips. He provoked, "The person involved is here. You guys ask away." I barely contained my rage and said, "Makoto, take that video down and apologize immediately. You've maliciously spread lies, incited hatred, and I will sue you until you're bankrupt." Makoto laughed out loud. "You really thought you could handle it, but you're even worse than I imagined. You're already triggered so easily. Wasn't this heiress the one you brought back to the village? Poor enough to take a tricycle, yet still trying to put on a show, posting all this stuff with your big budget. Aren't you trying to run a scam in the village?" Hearing his insults, I was furious. Anna, the high-class beauty, was now dragged into this mess because of me. I was lost for a moment, unsure whether I should expose her real identity to refute the rumors. I took a deep breath to steady myself. Instead of debating whether or not to defend myself, I decided to hit where it hurt. I said slowly, "Makoto, this whole scene you're causing is just because your girlfriend dumped you, and you're looking for someone to take your anger out on. I told you before, I'm not interested in fighting over a girl. How childish is that? Why don't you understand?" The tone in the comments shifted. Netizens wrote, "Is there some inside story here?" Some others commented, "I hate these kind of melodramatic stories." Makoto's expression faltered for a moment. He said, "It's not that I read too many novels. It's just that your disgusting behavior. Stealing my girlfriend." I laughed. "I'm not interested in stealing your girlfriend. Even if you two broke up, I still have no feelings for her. Does that make you feel better? Can you stop spreading lies now?" Seizing the opportunity, I buried him first. Makoto panicked. He said, "It's not like that." I didn't. But the comment section had already completely turned against him. Netizens wrote, "So it's all because of a woman. What a waste of time. Pfft, simp. No shame at all." Makoto hurriedly ended the live stream. At that moment, my phone rang. It was Anna calling. She said, "Grand, I'm about to start a live stream to support farmers, so I don't have time to explain everything to you. Don't worry about that incident. The company will handle it soon." Chapter 10. The live stream room on this side was still boiling. On the other side, Anna's Support Farmer live stream had started. This event had been organized by the local government for a long time and was quite grand. As soon as it began, it attracted a lot of viewers. In the broadcast, Anna was sitting next to the director of the Cultural and Tourism Bureau. She had a poised and charming smile. The host introduced her. "Today, we are also honored to invite Miss Anna, the heiress of Sioux Group, a national senior baker, ambassador for the Children's Foundation, champion of the Floral Hand Goddess competition, TikTok People's Artist. Welcome." Anna smiled and said, "Don't worry, all these titles belong to me, and the live stream room can handle it." She was cute, lively, and down to earth, with a totally funny girl vibe. The live stream room immediately became lively. Soon, the onlookers made a new discovery. Someone commented, "Is this heiress the same rural heiress from the other live stream?" Anna ignored it and focused on her live stream. She kept them guessing. It wasn't until the viewer count peaked and the product introduction segment wrapped up successfully that Anna finally covered her mouth with a slight smile and responded. She said, "I saw all the questions you asked earlier. Now, to reply, yes, the strange rural heiress in that video is me. The live stream room instantly exploded. Netizens commented, "No way. Is this a drama?" Anna turned to the camera and seriously said, "Here, I want to especially thank my colleague Grand, who gave me the opportunity to interact with our farmer friends as part of the family. He also helped me understand the deeper significance of this live stream." She gave a sincere speech that moved hundreds of thousands of viewers. Coincidentally, the agricultural products being sold were of great value. Families scrambled to purchase. The once unsellable products from the mountains were now reaching households everywhere. Everyone was happy, but I felt a bit conflicted inside. I thought, in the end, I had become her NPC. Makoto, who was also in his own live stream room, was being cursed at to the point of losing his mind. He retaliated, saying, "See, this is what happens after he steals my girlfriend and then dumps her. The reason is simple, he just latched onto a rich woman and started living off her. George is spineless and shameless. He's a disgrace to all men, but who thinks they can just become a phoenix man? It's clear, he just pretended to be her boyfriend. But once everything returns to normal, he's still just a corporate slave." Soon, the crazed rants from Makoto were passed on to Anna's live stream room. Anna didn't respond again. She remained silent until the live stream ended. I stared blankly at the few cold words left in the closed live stream room. The next moment, Anna's call popped up on my screen. Her voice, which had been distant and detached just moments ago, now had a ripple of emotion. She said, just now, I didn't know how to say it in the live stream, so I wanted to ask you, if you really have no feelings for that person anymore, would you consider me, your fake girlfriend, wants to become the real deal?" Chapter 11. Anna explained the events of the past few days. She spoke with a sense of grievance. "George, actually, I've liked you for a long time. The lottery at the annual meeting was something I had my assistant deliberately set up, and I purposely made sure you'd win. But after you won, you didn't seem happy, so I changed the explanation. In the end, you gave me a pile of broken pieces. George, do you really dislike me that much?" I thought for a moment. It had nothing to do with dislike. The avoidance was simply due to insecurity and shyness. Suddenly, a phrase came to mind. If you don't like something, you should say it boldly, or else others will think you don't mind. If you want something, you must fight for it openly. Otherwise, why would good things come your way? I took a deep breath and wanted her to know about my open affection. But then I overheard some staff members talking loudly on the other end of the phone, almost as if they didn't want her to hear. One of them said, "We still have other work to do after the live stream. Wasn't she acting like a composed and aloof heiress earlier? Turns out she's just love-brained." I smiled and said, "In that case, when you get back, we'll have a serious talk. I think this is something I should say in person." I hung up the phone. Then, I sat back down and picked up the now cold bowl of mixed bean porridge. When the chickens saw me crouch down, they thought I was going to feed them and ran over. But when they saw the bowl in my hands, they walked away with cold disdain. My grandmother's food was so unappetizing that even the chickens wouldn't eat it. Only Anna would eat it. I smiled at the chickens and said, "Stay hungry for now. In a while, the one you like is coming to feed you herself." Miraculously, my grandmother, who had been deaf for years, overheard. With surprising energy, she rushed into the chicken coop and shouted, "Granddaughter-in-law is coming back. We'll slaughter 2 chickens tonight." Epilogue. The next morning, my grandmother stood at the door shouting for Anna. "Where are you going? Are you coming back for a meal?" She gave me, who was preparing to rake the field, a look of disdain and said, "Go muck out the manure." I laughed. No one did it better than my long-legged grandma when it came to mucking out manure. The next second, my grandmother yelled, "Why are you running so fast to muck manure?" She watched as Anna ran all the way to Willow's house. Willow was standing at the door, looking angrily at the manure scattered all over the place. Stomping her feet, Anna pursed her lips and said, "It's just that the slope was too steep. I couldn't stop. I really didn't mean to do it." Willow was speechless. Anna added, "I just remembered something. Not that I came to ask on purpose." Willow sighed. "Go ahead, ask," Anna said. "There's no need for us to keep competing, right? For every extra day you compete, I'll have to muck manure one more day." Willow covered her face. 1 year later, Makoto ended up in jail. We used the compensation we received for his slander to host our engagement banquet. During the toast, Willow tilted her chin up and nonchalantly said, "George has finally made it. He used to complain on WeChat every day about wanting to bring down the corrupt boss and fight to the end. He said he must have done so much wrong in his past life that in this life, he's stuck working for the boss. But now, look at him. He's marrying the boss's wife. Now he won't say he's going to bring the boss down anymore." Anna silently watched her perform, and with a smiling expression, she replied softly, "How do you know he hasn't taken him down? Besides, the battle is still very intense." Willow was fuming with anger.